Hey everyone, this is Pete, and welcome back to Atari A to Z, a series of short playthroughs of Atari 8-bit games, some which I grew up with and some which are new to me. Today is one of the latter. Today we're looking at Yogi's Great Escape from Hi-Tec Software. So this is a game we've actually already seen on the Atari ST A to Z series, but today we're going to take a look at the Atari 8-bit version. Now this game and its ST counterpart were based on the 1987 made-for-television movie of the same name, which was part of the Hanna-Barbera Superstars 10 series. The game didn't come out until 1990 though, so it wasn't the most timely release, and doesn't really have a lot to do with the plot of the movie, aside from Yogi trying to escape from Ranger Smith, who's trying to put him in a zoo or something like that. So the 8-bit versions of the game were mostly fairly well received when they were released, but the existence of the Atari 8-bit version is not something that a lot of people seem to talk about. Like if you look on the game's Wikipedia page, there's no mention of the Atari 8-bit version, and it's one of those games where sort of people only really refer to like the Spectrum version and the Commodore 64 version and so on as well. But no, there was an Atari 8-bit version as well. So that's what we're going to look at today. Let's go play Yogi's Great Escape. Okay, here we are with Yogi's Great Escape, programmed by Russell Knight with graphics by Ken Jarvis and Pete Frith. Copyright 1990 by PAL Developments and published by Hi-Tec Software. And on this Atari 8-bit version, we go straight into the game pretty much. There is a version of this without even that title screen there. So you just literally launch the game and you're directly into the game itself. Now, if you watch the Atari ST version of this that we covered a while back, you'll remember that this is a competent but relatively unremarkable platform game. With some annoying elements, but it has its appeal. And having spent a little time with this before I started recording here today, although the 8-bit version doesn't look anywhere as near as nice as the ST version does, like it's very brown, for example, and the limited number of colours on screen and the resolution and stuff tends to sort of obscure a lot of the detail. But I think I actually prefer this version in terms of control responsiveness and all that sort of thing. I feel like I'm having a much easier time of it with this particular version of the game. It feels much more controllable and easy to get along with. As I say, it doesn't look anywhere near as nice as the ST version. Doesn't scroll smoothly. It's missing a lot of things like that. But, you know, it plays competently. Is probably the most generous thing I could say about it. Let's hop over that snake. Like you can see there, that snake is a good example of how the graphics don't really sort of help what's going on here. It blends in quite a lot with the background, and the same with the parts of Yogi's car that you're supposed to be collecting as you go through. Because everything is all the same colour, it's quite difficult to distinguish the things that you can interact with, the things that are dangerous, and the things that, well, those are the two main things really, the things you're supposed to be collecting, and the things that are dangerous to your health. So, let's have another go. But like I say, what I do like about this version is the fact that the controls are responsive, and once you get a feel for how it works, you've got a lot of control over Yogi. So this is one of those games where the longer you hold down the fire button, the higher he jumps. There's an upper limit on that, of course, but having that system in there does make you feel like you've got a lot of control over those jumps. How far you go, how high you go, and all that sort of thing. So you can make some quite long jumps like that, as you can see. And you can change direction in mid-air and everything like that. So yeah, it's a pretty good option for movement. Takes a bit of getting used to if you're more accustomed to what I'd describe as more sort of console style controls. But once you do get a feel for it, yeah, it's pretty good. Because that means you can do things like you can make a little hop under there and fall into the pit, like I did. Yeah, let's try it again. So we make a little hop there, then there we go. So you actually time starting your jump almost as you start falling. And that allows you a lot of control over where you're going. Again, here, see, the colours aren't really helping things. Because you've got the foreground and the background are in the same colours there. So you've got those tents and stuff in the background. But then all the stuff in the foreground is the same colour as well, so... Yeah, like I said, that's the main criticism with this game, but... That was not at all an uncommon thing in Atari 8-bit games. Because very often what you'd find is games that were very colourful in, say, their Commodore 64 incarnations would tend to be a bunch of shades of one colour in their Atari incarnation. A good example is the stuff from Zeppelin games. So you may recall a while back, last time round we reached Z, we saw a game called Xybex. Now that's a very good looking game, but you can't get away from the fact that every stage is just one colour with lots of different shades. And if you compare that to the Commodore 64 version, which is much more colourful, yeah, it's hard not to be a little envious. I've not actually seen the other 8-bit versions of this, but I suspect it'll be a very similar sort of situation with this. We're going to run out of time, I think. Oh no, that's the exit. We've done it! With very little time to spare. Apologies if the light keeps changing on my camera, by the way. I'm using natural light today, just because it's quite sunny outside, but there are clouds going over every so often, which makes it a bit dark now and then. So if I seem to disappear into the darkness now and then, that's why. I'm sure you don't mind. Oh dear. Game over. One thing I find kind of hilarious about this game is that reviewers criticised it when it came out for sending you back to the beginning of the game when you get a game over. Which I don't understand that, because, you know, even at the time this came out, people knew what game over meant, and continue systems were still pretty much an arcade thing, especially when you're talking about short form games like this. As I believe this only has something like 5 levels. And so if you just allow people to just credit feed their way through the whole thing, then it'll be over in 10 minutes. And so demanding that players improve their skills and start again from the beginning. I didn't touch that. Okay, that is bullshit, but he's sending me all the way back over there. Jesus. But yeah, sending people all the way back to the beginning of a game when you get a game over is not at all an unusual thing. So it's kind of strange that this got specifically called out on it in a number of reviews. But oh well. Like I say, this is not a stunningly amazing game or anything like that, but I do genuinely like this Atari 8-bit version quite a bit more than the ST version. It just feels like it fits better. And whereas it was a fairly mediocre game on the Atari ST, I think it's actually quite a good game on the Atari 8-bit. Like I say, there's things it could have done better. The scrolling could be smoother, the graphics could be better. There could be some nice music rather than those excruciating jumping sound effects. But those are all pretty minor complaints. Like the important stuff in this game, how it controls, which is vital for a platform game, is all very good. And I think this is a good example of what some of these developers and publishers who were doing cross-generational games for the 8 and 16-bit platforms struggled a bit with. In that what worked well as a good game design for an 8-bit platform wasn't necessarily good for a 16-bit platform. As I say, this is a fairly mediocre Atari ST game, but it's a pretty good Atari 8-bit game. Just when you compare it to other stuff that was around at the time. Scrolling platformers were relatively unusual on the Atari 8-bit, in fact. Oh dear. Wasn't aware you could get killed from there. Yeah, scrolling platforms were relatively unusual on the Atari 8-bit, despite the... That's some unfortunate collision detection. Let's try that again, shall we? Scrolling platforms were quite unusual on the Atari 8-bit. See, you tended to see more flick screen platformers because that allowed things to be designed on a sort of screen-by-screen basis, and each screen could have its own kind of unique mechanics and puzzles and that sort of thing. Whereas if you've got a scrolling level like this, you have to sort of bear in mind the fact that at various points the player might be between two quote-unquote screens, as it were. And so the game has to be designed in such a way that it still sort of works as a continuous journey rather than proceeding from one screen to the next. And then, of course, there's things like sort of memory limitations to bear into account and that sort of thing, but... That's not to say that there weren't any scrolling platformers on the Atari bit, but just offhand, I can't think of any, to be honest. Plenty of scrolling shoot-em-ups, obviously. Which I guess would run into some of the same considerations, but... I don't know, that's unusual. Anyway, this is an example of a scrolling platformer on the Atari 8-bit, which is quite an unusual sight. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm getting quite good at this first level now. Like I say, just the fact that the controls feel so much tighter on this 8-bit version is making this feel a lot less demanding and overly challenging than the ST version. Like, the ST version, every jump felt like you were risking your life. Can I fall down there? Yes, I can. There we go. Yeah, every jump you made in the ST version felt like you were risking life and limb, whereas in this, you can see a gap like that and you can think, yeah, I know I can make that. Oh, I don't know if I can make that one though. How do I get back up there? Guess we're going to have to go this way. Yes, that's it. See? Environmental puzzles. But yeah, I'm glad they revisited this. I mean, the reason I initially picked this for Y was because, frankly, I'm running out of Ys in the Atari 8-bit library. And I don't really want to show 15 versions of Yahtzee, although that's probably what it's going to end up being. Either that or I'll just skip Y from now on. We'll see. But yeah, I initially picked this because there wasn't much else to choose from. And I was a little bit cynical about it. I wasn't sure it was going to be a worthwhile experience to explore, but yeah, it's actually been very worthwhile. I'm impressed. Good job, Hi-Tec. I'm getting some quite tricky little patterns going on now. We can walk on the tree. That's nice. Can we walk on those? Yes, we can. Oh no, but they fall. They fall. It's alright. I found a hidden object on the way down. Now, do they respawn now? Uh-oh. Need to time that better. There we go. Hey. Oh, bugger. This is going to make the time limit tight, I feel. Jump! And keep going. Nice. Those sort of stripy platforms, those are conveyor belts, I think. They push Yogi backwards or forwards. At high. Oh no! So you need to be prepared for them. You get up there? Yes, we can. Over the snake. That may have been a mistake. Can we get up there? Not quite. No. Ah, oh, that's it. Alright, I think that's probably enough of Yogi's Great Escape for now. But, yeah, I'm to be impressed with that. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And, like I say, I would rather play that version than the Atari ST version. So, make of that what you will. Anyway, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.